Well, from North Beach Podcasts in partnership with TSN, season's greetings and welcome to our first episode of Season 2 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. Darren Dreger along with Ray Ferrero. It feels strange to say season's greetings, right? I mean, normally we've got so much stuff packed into this point of the year that, you know, you especially, you're looking forward to, but you're working the World Junior Championship. So it's not like you get a long holiday break by any stretch of the imagination. But man, this year, because of the pandemic, has just tumbled, you know, day after day, week after week, month after month. It does not feel like Christmas is so close.
No, you know what, Dregs? Cammie and I we put our Christmas lights up like about 2 weeks early this year. We're like, we need some cheer. Yeah. We need, you know, it was November and we got our Christmas lights up. We got a Santa up in Vancouver. It just rains here. Mm-hmm. We got a Santa up outside and like just the month, it's like December, but it could be August. It doesn't even really feel like anything. And I would say the other thing that's really kind of crazy is like, so we're getting ready to return to play again and it's the wrong month.
I know.
Right? Like it's usually you know, you still got some summer left, you got some good weather, and now you're going into camps, and now we don't even really know when it's going to start, or you kind of do, or whatever. But it's all jumbled up. But it's all jumbled up for everybody. And I know in our house, you know, our grandkids are around, and Santa's is big news right now. So it's starting to feel like it.
Okay, you're going to like this because you're a great golfer, big fan of the sport. You watch a lot. And, hey, look, we saw you hitting golf balls. So we'll get an update on the knee rehab in just a moment. Here's what I've done. So, you know, I've got 3 or 4 buddies, and they've maintained a bubble. Everybody's working from home. You know, you do the social distance thing, all of that. But we've gone from the golf course to a golf simulator at Royal Ashburn, the club that I play with every year. I always felt like, I mean, the last time I was in a simulator was probably a decade ago, and it was cheesy, right? Like you're playing Pebble Beach, but it doesn't really look like Pebble Beach. Well, the upgrades to these systems now in utilizing the TrackMan and all of that, phenomenal. And we're having a blast.
So is it practice, or are you guys playing against each other?
Yeah, no, we're playing against each other on. You know, we haven't played.
Okay, so the simulator, is it in a big room?
Yeah.
What would you think of somebody that bought a simulator and put it in his house, but like can't swing his club because the roof's too low? Like, who would be stupid enough to do that?
Okay, who did that? Somebody you know do that?
Somebody you know.
What? Where are we going with this?
Somebody that's written a book that you may have heard that he's
Duffy.
What a clown. So he's got a simulator that he can hit a 7-iron with.
Well, and okay, this is why I didn't know where you were going with it, because I mean I hadn't heard that story. But as soon as you said, do you know somebody who has a simulator? I'm like, yeah, somebody who's rich. Because I actually looked into buying one. I mean,
okay, so hang on. To defend James here, there are different kinds that you can get.
But I think the low level ones, Ray, are like 20 grand Canadian.
He's writing a book. You may have heard about it. I think it's called Beauties.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, actually, it might be right behind me.
Well, did he sign the copy to you, or did he just send it like in a?
Hold on, let me look. Hold on, my earpiece.
Oh, there you go.
Everything's falling out of my head here. Let me look. Hold on.
It's the author.
Hold on. Oh, no.
Nice.
Okay, let me read it. Dregs, thanks for the great stories, my brother, and for generally being the best. James.
See, that's touching. And you know what's amazing is that, you know, his name is on the book, right? You know, it says Beauties, James Duffy.
Yeah.
We wrote the book.
I know.
He didn't do anything. He recorded it and then had somebody type it out on the page.
What's going on with O-Dog, by the way? Because every time Duffy tweets something in promotion of Beauties, right? And I mean, it's 50 times. They tweet more. He and Bob McKenzie tweet more about their books than we do about the Ray and Dregs podcast.
It's Bob's semi-retirement.
Yeah.
He's gonna end up with carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yeah.
Typing on his phone.
Okay.
Come and get the book, read the book, look at this chapter. How about this chapter?
Yeah.
And Duffy, it's nonstop.
Okay. Speaking of, how many greetings, how many things have you had to do for Memo? Hi, this is Ray Ferraro. I want to wish Al in New Brunswick a happy birthday. Is that basically?
Okay, I've done about 10, and I've got 5 sitting there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. You're supposed to be able to wish somebody a Merry Christmas, or, you might want me to, wish your buddy a happy anniversary. He's a big hockey fan, whatever.
Yeah.
Of the 12 of the requests that I have here in the first couple of days, 11 of them are to rip somebody's buddy.
Well, you're good at that, though.
Well, I said to Cammie, I can see where this is going. Nobody's saying, hey, would you wish my dad a happy birthday? I can do that too,
Hey, by the way, have you reached a breaking point?
Of what? Yes, several.
Look, we all have COVID-19 fatigue. We're all trying to do what we can do and all of that nonsense. But I find myself, especially at home where you spend 99% of your time, like the craziest little things will piss me off. So I'm jumping into bed the other night. Normally Holly goes to bed about 9 o'clock. She reads, she does whatever she does. I stay downstairs and I watch whatever I'm watching on TV. So I go to bed. Now it's like 10:30 and Fritz, we've got a 14-year-old Shih Tzu to complement Tiny the Great Dane. And I crawl into bed. Fritz is on the bed, which isn't unusual. He's old. He's got arthritis. We have to lift him everywhere. He's taken a squirt on the bed, middle of the bed.
No.
Like, I lost it. So 2 things have happened with this dumb dog in the pandemic. I told you about the first one where he crapped on the floor. Yes. In our master bedroom. It was dark. I'm in my dress shoes. I step in it and I smear it into the carpet and all over the place. So that was episode 1. And episode 2, I'm not sure why I thought of you when it happened the other night when Fritz pissed on the bed. But I'm like, I can't deal with this. I grabbed my pillow and I went, F it. And I stormed out of the bedroom and I went and slept on the couch. And I left my wife, Holly, sleep in dog pee for the entire night.
Okay, so am I supposed to pick the other side here? Because there is no thought other than that I had in my head. I would have seen that. I would have grabbed my pillow and turned around. Deal with it tomorrow. Oh, no way.
My breaking
point. We're talking about getting a dog.
Right.
So it's hard to get them right now.
Yeah, it is.
Everything's backed up because people are through the pandemic, right? They're like they think of getting a dog, and so we're on the back end of some. I don't know. Cammie's got us on 26 different lists, and I don't even know the name of the dog, the type of dog, but we're gonna end up with one. So you can imagine me with a puppy. How that's. I'm gonna. There's a whole new side gonna open up, Dregs. I can feel it.
Cammie strikes me as a Portuguese water dog fan. And that would be
it's something like a cockapoo or something around there.
Yeah, those are lap dogs. But the Portuguese water dog, you would appreciate.
How big?
Like I would say mid-size, not small.
What's
but
that
not,
mean?
Well,
if it's over 30 pounds, I'm not interested.
Definitely over 30 pounds. But the beauty of the Portuguese water dog is their hygiene is off the charts good. They don't shed, so you're not going to have, dog hair everywhere. I live in dog hair, we're stuffing pillows. But
Dregs, I don't want another human-sized thing in the house.
Yeah.
I get enough.
Yeah, you'll fall in love with it, whatever. Probably a cockapoo sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. So all I know is it's one of those things that my input is really not required.
We need to get to the headlines brought to you by our pals at Ligaro Jewelers. This holiday season, Ray and Dregs fans get to shop and get 10% off all regularly priced items site-wide at ligaro.com. But you have to use the code RAY10 for that 10%. World Junior Championship. All right, we're recording this podcast. I don't know, what is it? Do we say episode 1 of season 2 or like every other podcast, this is episode 317. I mean, we're not up there. Where are we? In the 40s, the 50s, something like that?
I like season 2, episode 1.
Okay. So then let's go with that. Season 2, episode 1.
Because I think the reason to do that is because we know that and we don't know the total episodes. We need some help with that. We're
recording this on Friday, December 11th. How many days now before you dive into the bubble in Edmonton?
5 days. I've got my second COVID test today. Had one on Wednesday, get another one on Sunday.
How are they doing? Is it the nasal one?
No, it's not the tickler, the brain tickler. It's one on each side and spin around the thing there. And, it's kind of gross, but anyway.
There's lots of room to work with there, though.
The doctor did say when I have had one test like in July, and he's like, "Whoa, you've had this nose whacked around a bit." Yes, I have.
What was your first clue?
Yeah. So 3 tests. If they're all negative, which I'm hoping they are, I'm on a plane on the 16th, which will be my first flight since March 12th, into Edmonton, and then 96 hours, 4 days quarantined in our hotel room. Can't leave. There's actually a device that you wear a bracelet when you check in. There's something that plugs into the wall, and those two things obviously talk to each other. If you leave your room, Alberta Health is notified and you're gone. So it'll be 96 hours in the room. We'll do an episode or 100 episodes in those 4 days because I'll need something to do.
So you know what? I'm thinking automatically. You know how my brain works. So I would want to get there first. And in the meantime, I would have had something modified or created that rather than notify Alberta Health, I mean, you get like 120 volts zapping through your body. and so you would get the normal one because I wouldn't want to do that to you. Gord Miller, he's getting the shock of a lifetime. How funny would that be?
That would be that's good stuff. When you started talking about that, it reminded me one time we were with the Kings. We checked into the Long Island Marriott, but Gary Galley had played his 1,000th game that night.
Right.
And so the bus took all our luggage to the Long Island Marriott. We went into New York City. We had a dinner and kind of ripped it up a little bit. And then we you just got in a cab and went home. So 4 of us, me, Russ Courtnall, might have been Galley, and I forget the other guy, went in the cab. We got to the hotel. Well, we get there. We're the first ones there. And the woman working behind the desk, she's doing 8 different things. And we're like, hey, can we get our key? She gives us the room keys in a stack with an elastic around it.
Oh, no.
And they were all the key cards.
Yeah.
So we took our key cards and we went, oh my God, we're never going to get a chance like this again. So we mixed up all the rooms, just changed all the cards. So now none of the doors open.
That's
when
awesome.
The guys get back. So now we go get our luggage and we're in a room with all the luggage.
Oh.
We take our stuff out. We open up every piece of luggage and whatever you could get your hands on just threw over your head. It looked like a bomb went off in there. And on the way out, I took all the light bulbs because that's always one of my favorite tricks. So we go back to our rooms and we're like, we've now had like almost a blood pact. Nobody says anything. So guys are yelling out in the hallway because it's like 3 a.m. and their doors don't open. And I hear Glenn Murray, who's now with LA in their player development and scouting. Yeah. I hear him yelling, "Razor, you little effer." He goes, "I know you got something to do with this." And I look out my door and he's throwing his luggage on the ground like Steve Martin in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He's so pissed because they got to go down and figure out the key.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So the next day we go to practice, Dregs. Guys are coming in and they have armloads of clothes because none of their clothes were, it looked like a shopping bazaar in there. And they're now everybody's trying to figure out who did it. And I don't think anybody knew until now.
Is it at like 10 o'clock at night? Like, well, what time of day is this happening? When guys are checking into the hotel and all this?
3 a.m.
Oh.
And so Dregs, we played the game in the afternoon in Carolina, flew to New York, and then ate and ripped it up a little bit. And so, everybody's had a few wobblies, and now they're tired and they're grumpy, and we got to get up for practice tomorrow. And nobody was very happy, man. It was one of the best pranks that I've ever been involved in.
No
awesome.
Kidding. Well, there's nothing worse. We've been in enough hotels in our lifetime, but you get there, say midnight, whatever the case. In this story, it's 3 a.m. There's nothing worse than the key not working and having to go back down to the lobby to get that key changed. Or, and this has happened to me a few times, I'm sure it's happened to you. The door opens and there's somebody in bed. Like that's happened to me probably 6 times in my life, where I walk in, there's somebody in bed. Like,
no, see, I haven't had that. I've not had that. So here's the thing. Here's how maybe the crowning thing to this.
Yeah.
It was all fun and games and everything was okay. But our coach was Larry Robinson, one of the nicest guys ever. He was so pissed off, Dregs, because somebody decided in the room where all the luggage was that we threw all the clothes all over, it overlooked the veranda to the pool. And somebody decided to throw the mattress out the veranda into the pool. So somebody found a mattress floating in the pool.
Oh my God.
And of course the LA Kings were on the hook for that because one of us dummies had pitched that thing out. Had to be a big guy. You got to be big to throw a mattress.
So we're going to talk more about the NHL. We're not going to get too bogged down in the return to play stuff and whatnot. We've got lots of time to analyze decisions and whatnot moving forward. But we are telling stories here, which we're going to do a lot of, I think, in season 2, particularly with our guests. And we've got Steve Levy, who is the play-by-play voice of Monday Night Football, has been at ESPN forever. He's a good friend of ours. He's going to join us shortly on the podcast. But speaking of stories, Mitch Melnick got you to tell a story earlier this week, right? And I knew that you were a real good baseball player as a kid, and good enough that your team went on to the Little League World Series. So I'll let you take it from there, because there was an exchange that happened. And now, what was the year? We're not talking like it was 20 years ago. I mean, this is like
1976. So 44 years ago.
All right. Well, you take it from here, because it's a great experience that you guys shared on the Melnick Show.
So for those that don't know, Mitch Melnick is, in my opinion, one of the best sports hosts.
Terrific.
He's amazing. Great recall. He gets you into these conversations so easily. He's the host of the Drive Show in Montreal. So I go on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesday was my first time on. I'd taken a month off. And Mitch said, hey, welcome back. And thought I knew a lot about you, but I read this great article by Lisa Dillman in The Athletic, and I didn't know you played in the Little League World Series. So I start to tell him about our year in 1976 from Trail, BC, 19 kids that tried out for the team. We won the Canadian Championship and went to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And so I'm telling him about, we played the Canadian finals in Sherbrooke. First time I'd ever been on a plane flying to Montreal. And we get to the semifinals and we've got a win. And we're playing a team from Chateauguay. And he goes, we'll hear from people from Chateauguay. They listen. That's part of our listening zone. And so I tell this story about this left-handed pitcher who shut us out for 5 innings in the semifinals. His name's Aram Nalbandian. And I don't know why I remembered his name. I mean, it's 44 years ago. But I've told this story a lot because this is a moment in my life, Dregs, that of all the cool things I've done, going to the Little League World Series is right near the very top. I've been so lucky.
Yeah.
And so we're in the game. We're down 2-0. We haven't touched them all game. Our leadoff hitter hits a home run. So now it's 2-1. Next guy gets a base hit. Somebody goes out. I'm up. I bunt and get on base. There's a pass ball. And then we have a kid who hasn't hit much all year. Our manager, who is a legend in British Columbia baseball and Canada baseball, Andy Bolesky, puts up this kid to pinch hit. He gets a base hit. We score 2. We win 3-2. So I'm telling this story about Aram Nalbandian. And so yesterday, Thursday, I'm on the air. And Mitch says, we got a drop-in guest. It's Aram Nalbandian.
Wow.
I've never talked to him. So Aram is a year older than me. So he's 57. I'm 56. We're talking about this Little League Baseball and this game from 44 years ago. His tremendous. Recall and mine were like we were piecing the game together from either side. And I said, man, my recollection is how hard you threw. And he goes, were you a right-handed hitter? And I said, yeah. And he said, I must have come high and hard at you. Man, he was mean, like he was fast and mean. And I said, yeah. And then our leadoff hitter got a home run. He goes, yeah, left-handed batter. He goes, he got the bat out in front of the ball. I'm like, yeah, kid's name was Jimmy Galena. And so he hit this home run. He goes, and I remember you had a great pitcher, Bob Davidson. Well, I hear from Bob Davidson yesterday. Like Bob had heard the interview somehow. And so now, through this interview, I've connected again with a couple of guys from my Little League Baseball team. And
that's so good.
Oh, man, it was so cool. I'm so happy Mitch was able to do it. But what a cool thing. Something that, just think of anything that meant so much to you 40 years ago, and you get to relive it with somebody who it meant just as much to. So and I said to him, I said, just think if that kid who never hit, Terry Secco was his name, gets a base hit. If he doesn't get that hit, you guys go to Williamsport and we don't. Like that was the line.
Wow.
It was a great story. Really cool.
Well, but see, now you're surprised by the recall, right? That you would remember all that. He remembers all of that. And I mean, it's a tremendous story. I'm not at all surprised by it because I'm pretty sure that you could probably give me a very accurate description and analysis of the 400 plus goals that you scored in the National Hockey League, right? Every single one.
A lot. Nah, not a lot. Not all. I can remember them, Dregs. It's funny. I remember stuff like that. Yeah. And I can remember a goalie and a goal. Like, how did I score against that goalie? Yeah. And certain guys you remember more for various reasons. Like Nelson Emerson sent me a text yesterday on this day in St. Louis Blues history. A 7-7 tie with the New York Islanders. I got 3 goals in 5 minutes in the second period. I don't remember any of them. Brett Hull had 3 goals in the game.
Yeah.
And Nelly sends a text and we're tweeting back and forth or texting back and forth. And he goes, and what the hell was Brendan Shanahan fighting for in overtime? Shanny got kicked out of the game in overtime. He fought Huey Krupp. Like, I didn't even know what was going on. So all the old connection stuff jogs memories. And it was a good day yesterday. That conversation with Aaron Melbandian was like a highlight. I can't believe how much energy I got from that. It was great.
It's awesome. Great storytelling. And thanks to our pals at Ligaro Jewelers. Ray, our interview with Steve Levy is presented by coolbet.co. And our pal there, of course, Chris Abbott. Winter is here. Hockey is getting ready to come back. The NFL season right down to the wire last couple of weeks before the playoffs. It's all happening at coolbet.co. It's where you can play exciting sports games and top casino games for free. Now, you've got to be 19. And Coolbet reminds you, stay cool and always bet responsibly. Okay, Ray. All right. Now, you're a sports aficionado. I mean, sure. Cricket. I mean, you've got it all covered. I understand this.
Cricket, yeah.
51 years of Monday Night Football, right? The franchise of Monday Night Football, there have been 7 voices. And the man on the screen, Steve Levy, is the current. He is the 7th play-by-play voice of Monday Night Football. Leaves, how are you doing?
Quite frankly, I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around that whole Monday Night Football voice thing. I really feel like, and this is wrong, I sort of feel like I'm filling in, right? Like it's sort of like a dream, and somebody's under the weather, and hey, Steve, can you help out for a couple of games, kind of thing. And yet they keep inviting me back. So as I get ready to depart for Cincinnati, I feel really good about things. I'm having a great time, as good a time as it could be, you know, under the current conditions. But it's been a blast for sure.
Leaves, when you find out that they're going to make, they're going to need a new Monday Night Football voice, they're going to make a change, and you become in the mix, and you understand you're going to be in the mix. Like, do you start buying into it before you know? Like, do you start thinking about, hey, what would that be like?
Yeah. So, I feel like I've been in this conversation probably the last 4 or 5 years, right? We've had some turnover for a variety of reasons, right? We've had some turnover, and my name has sort of always been mentioned. I feel like I've been on a short list. And so the first time that comes around, that's really cool. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even sure I want the gig. It's just really cool to be thought of in that way, right? Like, hey, I'm in the mix. I'm in the conversation. So that was really neat. And then the second time around, I was like, you know what? And by the way, the first time, quite frankly, you guys know me, I'm a pretty straight shooter. I wouldn't have turned it down, but I might not have been ready. I really might not have been ready. And we've seen guys get rushed to the show, right? And then they're not ready. You get one chance. See, with coaches a lot too, right? You get put in a bad situation, you get one crack at it, and it doesn't work out. So while I wouldn't have turned it down, I probably wasn't ready for it. I needed more reps. And doing college football provided that for me in the last 4 years. And then the second time it comes around, I thought I was ready for it. And they just went a different direction. But, my college game got bumped up. I was doing like the third best college game, which is, an unbelievable gig in the States, and working with people I love. And Brian Greasy's one of my, favorite people around. And so then it pops up again. I'm like, all right, how many times is this job, is a plum job like this going to open, right? At some point, someone's going to seize the spot. And that's it. Look, I never thought Mike Tirico was the greatest. I never thought he was ever going to leave. And he winds up going to NBC for his dream job or whatever, So these things happen. Some of it is right place, right time. But, yeah, the second time, Parm, I started thinking about, hey, how would I handle something like this? And they made us wait, quite frankly, a long time. Like, I think the job became open in March. Let's say, March. And then, we really didn't find out probably till mid-July. That's a long time. But every single day I was thinking, you know what? I knew the schedule where the games would be and thinking, hey, how would I say this? How would I handle that? But it's been a really cool ride to this point.
Okay, so you get the call. It's you. Yeah. Then what? Other than your phone blowing up.
It's amazing how quickly that stuff gets out. I even I said to the person who gave me the good news, I'm like, when are we releasing this? He goes, it'll probably be out in the next, 6-7 minutes, because you got guys like Dregs out there, right, who are finding out stuff immediately as it happens. And so I called my parents, and I'm lucky enough to have both of them in real good health still at this point. And
that's awesome.
That was really cool. I called my sister, who I'm really close with, but the moment was, if you got time for this was really the coolest story of the thing. So my kids went away to summer camp. I think it was the only sleepaway camp in America that was open this past summer, right? Everything shut down and closed. So my kids go. And back in March, I had showed my kids an article in the New York Post saying that I was mentioned. A picture of me, possibility of getting the job, right? We never, ever talk about it again. I see my kids for the first time in 7 weeks. I pick them up at Logan in Boston off the bus, and I'm driving them back to Connecticut. Within 10 minutes sitting in the car, my daughter goes, Dad, did you get the job? Remarkable for a 10-year-old girl, right, who's just been away at sleepaway camp, that she had that thought in her mind. So, and at that point, I hadn't gotten it yet, right? So fast forward to I finally get the news. It's official. We're playing football out of my yard. My daughter's out there too. And their mom's coming to pick them up. And I say, hey, guys, I just need a minute. I need you to know I'm trying to go super father here, right? Everything's a teaching lesson to our children and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm like, hey, this job 5 years ago I wanted, I didn't get it. So I worked harder and I didn't get down. I stayed positive. And then 3 years ago, blah, 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 and the same thing. And then I want you to know that I just got the job now. And my daughter sobbed uncontrollably.
Oh, so great.
Oh, no.
The greatest hug I have ever had, and would not let me go. This went for 10 minutes, arms wrapped around. I'm tearing up now to tell you. arms wrapped around me, uncontrolled. I'm so happy for your daddy like that. And while she's doing this, I'm trying to keep it together. I got twin boys who are 8. One of the boys goes, "Way to go, Dad," right? And the other son goes, "Wait, so I can't watch Monday Night Football with you anymore," right? And so the 3 different perspectives from the 3 kids was really cool. So now we watch Thursday Night Football together, and they watch Monday Night on TV. Pretty cool.
When you walk into the booth now, is it now like this is your gig? Like, are you settled in yet? Like, you had to be nervous the first time. You had to have that sweat rag that you always carry.
Oh, yeah, good story. Yeah. So
he sweats a lot.
The crew is really aware of that. The Monday Night Football booth crew, they've got fans and like air conditioning everywhere. They heard about the Levy temperature issue. Yep. And so
do you have multiple shirts?
No,
is there like, do you have like
one shirt? Sometimes take the jacket off. Sometimes don't take the jacket off. Sometimes that's better off. But the fans blow into the air conditioning, and we've been in a lot of. Actually, it's been a great Levy schedule. We've got Cincinnati, Cleveland, Foxborough. We've been in a lot of domes. We haven't had Miami, Jacksonville outside. Vegas was inside. Denver, so it's been a Levy friendly schedule. But no,
that's good news.
It was definitely stressful in the beginning. I'm trying to figure out, and listen, the inside broadcasting part of this is because of the coronavirus. Usually a booth is full of a lot of crazy people running around, and now it's not. Now there's nobody in the booth. Yeah. So every person who used to help us in the booth is replaced by a monitor. So I have no statistician, no spotter, no stage manager. None of those, nobody handing you cards, none of that stuff. So that took a long time to figure out. So instead of, I have monitors and more people in my headset, and I'm 6 feet away from one of my partners, and then another 12 feet away from my other partner, and that's kind of it. So that took some getting used to.
Leaves, I don't think people would understand how much a spotter helps a play-by-play guy in football, and so you don't have that spotter, that safety blanket right beside you, right? I never even thought of that.
So everything is 6 feet, and then is he going to take a giant pointer? We talked about, how about a really large fork, something like that, and that's not the case. So people always asked about that. In hockey, do you have a spotter? I'm like, you can't have a spotter in hockey. Impossible. It's just too fast, right? I don't have a chance to look down at whatever he's spotting too. But in football, the stadiums are so big, and we're so far away, high and back. Usually the spotter will point to who makes a tackle, the secondary piece, right? Usually I can get the offensive play, who makes the catch, who's carrying the football, but the spotter will point out who made the block, who recovered the fumble, penalty on this. So what they've done now is technology. He could be anywhere in the stadium. He has my same board. This guy named Ben Bowman. You guys know Ben. He has my same board, and there's a camera over my board. Okay? And he points like he would for me, but he points on the camera, and his finger pops up on the monitor in front of me. And so that's how he spots that. It's crazy.
Now, what if you're printing? What if your card's messy?
Yeah, but the players and the name and number are all typed out nicely because somebody else does. Okay. My handwriting.
Okay, because I'm going to tell you a quick Chris Cuthbert story, one of the great play-by-play guys. Nobody on the planet writes messier than Cuthbert. Yeah. It's like you can't even believe it. So I'm upstairs with him this one game, and there's a deflected puck, and I've got a good view of it. I can tell he doesn't know. So I go to point, and I look at his game sheet. I can't even tell one team from the other. I can't even get the guy.
Right.
And so Benny's lucky he's got a type thing there, but Ben would be on it anyway, right?
He'd be all over. No, Ben's great. Awesome. And actually this year, because he's so far away, he's also in my headset too. So he's very chatty, as you know, also. And, he's like giving me all this great knowledge. I'm like, just tell me who tackled the guy. You know what I mean? I don't care where he's from and where he grew up and all that stuff. Just tell me who tackled it. We can get to the other stuff later,
Okay, hold on. This isn't an endorsement for McDonald's, although it could be. Right. I mean, Ray and I take on all comers. You want to sponsor the podcast? Monday Night Football wants to sponsor Ray and Dregs. We're all over that. But you've been known. We've traveled in enough circles over the years, marching through the Stanley Cup playoffs, etc. You've been known as a guy who appreciates fine dining. right? You like to sit down, have a good steak, nice glass of wine, all those things. Difficult to do during a pandemic, but you're tweeting about the McRib.
Yeah. So I didn't have one.
You need to explain.
I didn't have one. I just saw it. It was probably being promoted in my Twitter feed, but I definitely had one as a kid growing up. And I always thought people liked them, and then I didn't understand, like, well, why do they just bring them in and then take them away? You know, like, it's either popular or it's not popular. It's like the Big Mac. You don't just bring it in once in a while. Big Mac's a staple. Why shouldn't the McRib be a staple?
I don't know.
Now, about those dining things, though, Leaves, like, how many meals do you think you've eaten with Barry Melrose?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the variety of restaurants with Barry is about, well, none.
Right.
It's all the same.
And he orders his steak the same way. No matter how fancy the steak, he's got to have it well done, which is criminal.
That is criminal.
You know, the man will pay $100 for a steak and then have it well done, too. So, listen, honestly, people ask, you know, what's your favorite event and all that stuff. And, you know, I haven't had the full Monday night experience, but the Stanley Cup final with Barry, just seeing you guys, it was like a club, right? It was kind of like a special club. Yeah. And I think what was coolest about it was, like, the guys in the club, we really weren't doing the game itself. Right? We were doing everything before and after the game. And so the off nights and just, you know, seeing everybody at the morning skate and just bitching and moaning and putting everybody up. And it was just that was one of the real big misses for me of 2020. And hope we can all get together again next year and do it again.
How many cigars do you think Melrose would plow through in a Stanley Cup final? It's got to be more than 10.
More than 10? That's a day and a half. No, I mean it, guys. He is – so I'm traditionally a 4 to 5 minute late guy, and he will be out at, 10 a.m. before the morning skate, sitting out in the lobby or in front of the rink waiting for me with a cigar already going. So Barry has been known to – that's rough. Barry's been known to go, I think, 4 or 5 cigars a day on a good day. And I'd say on his off days, he's having 1 or 2. So, in a 7-game series, we're talking near 3 weeks. I'll let you guys do the math. That's a couple boxes.
Hey, Leaves, when I started at ESPN, I'm in the studio with Butcher Gross, and, we're waiting to do our, NHL Tonight show. And, Melly is with us, and you're doing play-by-play, and with Panger lots of times. And we grew to be fearful of you guys doing a game because they never ended on time. And so the game I remember was the 5-1 in Pittsburgh. Do you remember what time that thing ended?
So that was, hang on, I want to get, as you know, there've been quite a few. I want to make sure I had that right. That was not the Peter Nedved. That was Washington, right? That was Primo? Primo was
right.
Pittsburgh.
No, this was Primo over Tugnutt.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there, and Bucci was holding up his giant head because we were falling asleep. And we're like, this is never going to end. Like, what were you guys eating at that? It had to be 2 o'clock.
And so,
like, what were you guys eating?
So at that point, right, the game is cool and it's dramatic because it's important, and now we're in 5 overtimes, but the hockey's not good, right? It's sluggish. Yeah. There's no great plays, right? There's no scoring chances. The ice is awful. Everybody's dead. So that night, that's a good story. So that night, we did have a runner back in those days, and in between intermissions, they'd bring us something. And I don't know, after the second intermission, they ran out of everything. The old Igloo in Pittsburgh. The coffee was awful. Now they didn't even have it. After one of the overtimes, after the third overtime, I think Panger honestly went to Mario's box and he got himself a refreshment, let's say, okay? And you guys know what Mario's drinking.
It was a Bud Light. You know what it was.
I think it was a little red is what I think, okay?
Panger would have been swirling it around.
The Panger Grand Marnier thing, yeah. So he got something. Did he bring anything back for his buddy? Not a sip, no. But Panger was feeling good. Yeah, that was the night. I'm like, where'd the runner go? And I was told it was a school night. His mom came and picked him up. So that was the end of that. But Panger and I did go with the Permane brothers. at like 3 a.m. that night, the famous late night Pittsburgh sandwich place.
Yeah.
And that was, those were great times, and had been fortunate to be in the building for a couple of those. And I almost got wiped out of the record book this past playoff. I think by 2 minutes, I still kept the top spot, I think. But it was close. I got wiped out. Instead of the 3 longest televised, I think I'm now 2 of the 3 longest televised. So close enough.
Now, when you got the hockey stuff, like, and you're doing games, and now you're doing more prominent games, and ESPN's a national carrier, and like, how different is prep for that, where you're doing multiple games as opposed to the 1 game a week? Like, it must have felt frantic, or does it feel more frantic now?
This is a different kind of preparation. It just is. The hockey thing I had gotten used to after doing it for so many years. You learn how to work smarter, And the NFL, I'm really still trying to figure it out. Listen, the hockey thing, you guys will get this. The hockey thing was our club, right? Like there wasn't the hatred. There weren't the pitchforks out when you made a mistake, like people let it slide, it's Levy, whatever, that kind of thing. And then the NFL and Monday night, and that's a sign of the times too, right? It's a sign of the social media. Right. But there's just so much pressure on every single word. Every statement that comes out of my mouth is so scrutinized now on Monday night. And I welcome it, and I get it. Comes with the gig, and that wasn't the case. Back doing 2-3 games a week, and on ESPN too, doing during the NHL regular season. So that was a much more relaxed atmosphere. And listen, I'm getting more relaxed every game, but it's taking time. It's just my first season, but the preparation is entirely different. And you know what, guys? There's no face to face. Like we talk to Tom Brady. It's on a Zoom. All these great NFL superstars. Coaches, the meetings. So we're on Zooms for hours, and I mean hours at a time. And every production meeting's on Zoom. There's no going to practice. There's no morning skate. Quite frankly, there's not one time this season, we're coming up on week 14, that all 4 on-air people and our producer and director have been in the same room. Not one single time all season. We haven't shared a drink, a meal, a breakfast, a coffee, not once. So, we're working around some things, right? We're all dealing with some things, and that's one of them.
You mentioned the noise. I mean, you've been at ESPN for almost 30 years, Steve. It's a long time. I mean, you've hosted Sports Center, you've done tons of hockey, college football, bowl games, now the voice of Monday Night Football. A man with your wealth of experience. I mean, you've just talked about the platform of Monday Night Football. So, do you tune it out, or do you pay attention to some of the crap that you read on Twitter or social media?
So that's a really good question, Dregs. I'm glad you asked that, because I know there are people out there. It's like the coach is an athlete. I don't listen to the talk radio. I don't read the papers. Nonsense. I never believed that. Unless, Ray, you're one of those guys. I don't know. You didn't listen to it, but
no chance. I know.
So I use it, though, guys. I use it. I don't see everything. I'm not searching myself, but if somebody tags me on something, and certainly our people, they send clips and stuff like that. And I use it as fuel. And the way I deal with it is I rule out instantly, hey, Levy, you're great, and Levy, you suck, right? To me, those two cancel each other out, right? But there is some criticism that I say, you know what, might be onto something there. And then I'll go back and I'll look at the tape. Hey, maybe I needed to make a bigger deal about this play. Maybe I made too big a deal about this play. Look, some mistakes are going to happen. A lot of players on the field. The guy's 68, and I say he's number 69. You know what I mean? It's third. It should be 3rd and 3, right? The ball spotted a yard. I mean, those things are going to happen. I think everybody gets that for the most part. But so I use it, and then I'll make the final decision as to whether I'm going to change something like that. But some of it is useful, quite frankly, and I want to know what people think. I do. Listen, our obligation is to the audience. And while Twitter might be a small portion, or the negative is a small portion of the audience, still a portion of the audience. And everybody who's watching is really important to me. And try to do the best job I can.
Did you have a mentor, Leaves, when you started calling football, or even now?
I did go back to the 3 guys before me who have been unbelievably gracious. I spent a lot of time with Mike Tirico on the phone. just a super guy. We did, back in the early days of ESPN, we did the NFL on ESPN radio together. He went to Syracuse. I went to Oswego. Sean McDonough and I also spoke at length, and Joe Tessitore. Joe Tess, who was right before me, was unbelievably gracious. And this is even before Joe Tess got the Monday Night Football job. So I did college football a long time ago. Then they made me make a decision. Hey, Steve, you either got to be remote or studio. They made you make that decision. We didn't have hockey at the time anymore. So I said, all right, I'll stay in the studio. And that was sort of exclusively SportsCenter. And then Mike winds up going to NBC. Sean goes to Monday night. A big spot opens up in college. So I go back to play-by-play. And at that point, I leaned on Joe Tessitore. And I said, hey, Joe, what do you think? Give me some ideas. Joe was great with the board, the preparation, the SIDs, which are like the PR people, but people don't know what SIDs are in college, and really helpful. So anyway, so now even with the Monday night thing comes about, I circled back to all three guys, and all three were terrific. And in the end, their message was what I thought their message would be. It was sort of, hey, Steve, you got the gig on your own. Be yourself. Don't try to be like somebody else. And so that's kind of what I've tried to do. I can't go full Levy yet. I'm not sure the Monday Night Football audience is ready for that, but maybe down the road a little bit more. But every game a little bit more.
The full Levy. Oh, yeah.
We're not ready for the full Levy yet. Speaking of, look at you can't really see it. The full Levy experience, we can't let you leave the Ray and Dregs podcast without acknowledging you're a bit of a movie star as well, Steve. And so if my math is correct, you've at least appeared in 8 movies. So I'm going to name them: Mystery Alaska, Fever Pitch, The Ringer, The Game Plan, Tooth Fairy, Parental Guidance, Grudge Match, and most recently, $1 Million Arm. Of course, everybody remembers that one. John Hamm, not that long ago. Ray, you've probably watched all 8 of those through the pandemic here. It's self-isolating. What else are you going to do? You have to watch Steve Levy in these movies.
This is what I've noticed, Leaves, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is the breadth of your roles in these things. You're kind of like George Costanza. You're Costanza forever. You're an announcer.
Right.
Like, could you do a different part somewhere in the next game?
So believe me, I have asked that question. So the reason I've been in those movies obviously has nothing to do with my acting ability. I happen to know 2 sets of producers, the very famous Farrelly brothers, who everybody knows something about Mary, those guys. And so I hung out with them a couple times. They threw me a couple parts, really cool. And Mark Ciardi and Gordon Gray put me in with The Rock, and he did Miracle, by the way. Big sports fans, big hockey fans. And I have had that conversation. Guys, can I have a sex scene? Like no nudity. I'll take my shirt off. How about a cop chase, some violence? Can I take out a gun or something, a street fight? Something believable, yet different from my normal casting. What is my motivation as an actor? And then people are like, did you screw it up? I'm like, no, I can't screw it up. I'm me. How am I going to screw it up? I'm acting as myself. Can't be a mistake.
But if you did screw up, one thing I think we've noticed, or I've noticed for sure in your career, is how you bounce back.
Oh yeah,
from something that goes sideways. Yeah. And I don't know how many times I've watched on YouTube you bounce back from an injury report.
Yeah.
Oh no,
that went sideways. Some guys come back from a bulging disc, other guys from a bulging dick.
Yeah.
And
a bulging dick?
Were you with Charlie Steiner then?
It's one letter, right? It's one letter. It's not a big deal. It's an S or a C it's one letter. So, Dregs, you know this one.
Was that Charlie Steiner off camera?
No, Keith Olbermann. Worse.
Well, he says, "Oh, that's gonna smart or something."
Olbermann says, "Dregs, you know this one, right?"
Yeah,
so Olbermann says, "Steve, do we have any video of that?" Yeah. So, and what was really bad about it was we are about to go into a rip. I'm filling in for Dan Patrick. I'm really young. I'm really nervous. It's the big show. It's coming out of Monday Night Football. Biggest audience. We welcome everybody over. And so I make the mistake on Maurice Hurst of the Patriots, whatever. But now I'm about to go into a rip of a minute 15 of injuries, some career ending from the day before in the NFL, injury updates. So I am crying, laughing through these guys. These poor guys are dislocated shoulders, concussion, groin injuries. Keith is taking his glass off. The cameras are shaking because everybody's laughing. I can hear the control room is totally lost it. And the kicker to this story is, and this is not fun, there was an Asian figure skater who had passed away, and that was going to be the next story. Oh. And so in my ear, the producer says, hey, kill the figure skater story. So that, which is the expression in broadcasting to we're not going to do that story anymore. Kill the story, right? She's already dead. Right. So that led to more hilarity. Everybody lost it over that too. So it's just one big mess. I got back, it was before cell phones. I had 50 voicemails by the time I got back to my desk. And Norby Williamson, who is still my boss to this day, Norby, called me the next day. I thought I was going to get fired. I just swore on the big show, And he said, hey, it's some of the funniest television I ever saw. Keep up the great work. And here we are. One letter, guys. One letter. One letter.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Hey, Leaves, we'll let you go here quick, but I tweeted about it, so I have to get your answer. Darren Pang credits you for the holy jumping, right? But he told me that you told him, look, this is a cool catchphrase, but don't use it all the time. Is that fact? Or doesn't use it too much? I hear holy jumping a lot.
So I didn't invent it. He said it out of the blue, and I said, hey, you might have something there, And I said, don't overuse it. And we should be putting that on hats and T-shirts. And that pizza company should be sponsoring your little podcast here. I think we could all monetize that very nicely. What do you think of that?
Well, now we've got holy jumping on a little bobblehead, although that's kind of life-size Panger. And it's everywhere. Holy jumping. He says it on the golf course. And that's thanks to you, Lee.
Who's the best guy ever, right? Darren Robert.
Oh, he is.
All right, buddy. Well, you're a good friend to both Ray and I. We really appreciate you taking the time. Terrific talent, and be safe in your travels, and can't wait for Monday night's football game.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and I really miss you guys. I miss the whole hockey community, and hopefully we're all back together someplace come June,
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome, Leafs. Look forward to seeing you, and congrats on the gig. It's awesome to turn on the Monday Night Football and seeing you in another gray suit.
I'm gonna go pack right now for Cincinnati, and because you said that, I'll wear a gray suit. Thank you.
The term is used. He's just one of the great people. One of the good guys. All of that. It's used all the time. But Steve Levy, Ray, is definitely a man in that category, in both those categories. And he is a humble dude, right? I mean, anybody watching on YouTube or listening to this podcast, I mean, that's who Steve Levy is. He's the guy that you want to hang around with, before games and after games, because you're going to have a good time and you're going to share a bunch of laughs.
Well, he's supremely talented. I mean, to be able to be at the platforms he's at, to be at ESPN, to be one of their best Sports Center anchors for 20 years, then to grow into a hockey announcer, and then to go to football, and then to come back to hockey and grow to Monday Night Football, to do all of that as seamlessly as he does. Yet he really is, he's a funny, humble, confident guy. And he's just awesome to be around because there's always something going on. Yeah. I mean, he took a lot of time today, which we were, happy to have him on. And this is an unreal gig he's at. Monday Night Football. What a great place to be.
And how about the story of him breaking the news to his daughter and his children? I mean, I'm glad he kept talking, because there are moments when you're having a conversation. You and I have shared some personal stuff in travels about our family and our upbringing and our parents and all of that. And look, we're emotional people, right? But he kept talking because I was starting to well up. What a fabulous story.
Now, Dregs, you have a son and a daughter. I've got 4 boys. So I don't necessarily know the difference of that reaction of a little girl and a little boy. But I found it really interesting that his daughter's holding on for dear life, so happy for him. One boy's worried about not being able to watch Monday Night Football. And the other one's like, oh, you got the gig, eh? Like, I just found that contrast so cool. That was a great story. I mean, he's got lots that he's accomplished in his career and in his life, and there's still so much more in front of him. I mean, as you mentioned, he's the seventh voice on Monday Night Football. That's amazing.
Well, and look, I know you do this and I do it as well, but I loved him talking about the noise that he hears, on social media. I mean, of course he would. He's a play-by-play guy for an institution, Monday Night Football, but yet he doesn't dwell on, hey, look, you're the best analyst in the game, but I'm sure that you watch, maybe games that you've done, or you listen to other sports and, the analysts and how they approach. And when you stop learning, you stop getting better. So talk about, a man who's, again, at the top of the field here, but he still finds a way to block the noise, but also learn in the process, because there are, quote unquote, Monday afternoon quarterbacks sitting there with an opinion that he might learn something from. It was fascinating.
Well, yeah, it is amazing. People do, they nitpick everything you say. And sometimes I think, people that tweet in, at you, they forget you're talking on live TV with live words for 2.5 hours with no time to prep for anything. It's what you see and what you react to. So you're going to screw up a word or screw up a name somewhere here or there. And you have to be able to get enough experience to realize that's just the way it is. Because in the beginning, when I started, if 10 people said something nice and one person said something critical, that one outweighed the 10. And then after time, you kind of go, oh, it is what it is. But you do every once in a while, somebody points something out and you go, that's really interesting. I can use that.
Yeah.
Like I can learn from that. I can change something. I can deliver it differently. And that's pretty cool. And Leaves mentions he still does it.
Diving into Ask Ray and Dregs Anything. And we're kind of going to go back and forth on whether or not we have a throat punch in season 2. But I do have a throat punch before we get to Ask Ray and Dregs Anything. The donkey who cleared snow. And I know it's a tough job. Like he's riding in like this little plow, right? Cleared off the sidewalks. Ray, he took a strip of grass onto my front lawn, like a foot wide and 3 feet long. And I'm standing right there. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like he could clearly see what was happening. So anyway, I don't mean to put you on the spot for a throat punch, but I'm just thinking to myself, I'm looking outside. I'm going to have to fix that in spring. And this guy's getting our season 2, episode 1 throat punch on Ray and Dregs.
That's pretty good. Here's the thing. I don't really have any throat punches because I haven't done anything and I haven't left the house. We have, like somebody said, how was your weekend? I don't know. I didn't do anything. We blazed through Queen's Gambit.
Oh,
that was 7 episodes.
It was good. It was good.
I don't know if that's an advertisement for using mind altering stuff, but man, she can put the pieces together in a hurry.
Oh, I mean, she looks surprisingly awesome considering all the substances that were coursing through that woman's veins. I mean, holy smokes.
I love the show. I'm going to say one thing. By the way, I highly recommend it. You're talking about the plow. Remember when you were a kid shoveling your driveway and the plow would come up the street, you're almost done and you're like, no. And he drives that chunks of ice and into the driveway. It's like a wall. And of course, my little brothers, they were useless. They'd go into the house and we'd have to shovel that stuff out of there before Dad got home from work. He didn't want to do it.
No.
I hated that. You'd be done. It was like shinny time.
Yeah.
No more.
Just happened. But my good deed of the week, I fired up the big old snow blower and I cleared off like 4 driveways. It was elderly
look at
people
you.
in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Look at you. Snowblower and this and that and the other thing.
The only thing was
us power.
I know, but see, I'm not that conscious of what I wear when I go out. But, and again, it's the pandemic issue. I look down, like I've got about 4 pairs of soft pants. Like they're like Lululemon, that type of stuff, right? But I don't know. Like, should I be outside? Should I be seen in public wearing soft pants and everything?
Okay, I don't mean to one up you here. I don't big daddy topper on here, but
wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, well, whatever. I go to pick up Reese at school yesterday. He's 10, so I go to pick him up, and I'm parked in a different spot, so I'm not sure that he can see me. So I kind of step outside the car. He looks at me with this look on his face, like, "What are you doing?" So I have worn these gray or red and black checked Gap pajama pants. I'm going to say 200 times since March.
And they've been washed, right?
Well, yeah, twice.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping for a new pair for Christmas, but he's looking at me. I'm standing outside the car in these pants, and he's like,
"What the hell?"
I know he's like, what the hell are you doing there? Get in the car. So yeah, I think you're fine in those things.
Okay, all right. Ask Ray and Dregs anything. You can fire your questions our way on Twitter, Instagram, at Ray and Dregs, or on our website, rayanddregs.com. First question, Ray, from Terry. Terry is pumped for the Canadian division. 4 of those teams going to make the All-Canadian playoffs. He says, or she says, it'll be the Jets, it'll be the Oilers, it'll be Ray's Vancouver Canucks, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So how do you like the Canadian division, Ray, and who do you think comes out of it?
I think for the 1 year, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I wouldn't want to see it every year.
No, I agree.
But I think this is, we're kind of forced into this, but I think it's going to be great. I guess I could disagree more, but not by much more, with the selections of Terry. So my choices are, I think Toronto's the best team.
Yeah.
As of now, I think they are. I think Montreal won the off season, which a lot of times doesn't matter at all, but I think they're a good team.
I agree.
I think Calgary had a lot of problems that were solved with Jacob Markstrom signing. I look for a rebound from Goudreau and Monahan, who both kind of slumbered through the season, but I think Calgary's the third team.
Okay.
And that gets me. So I think they're on their own group of 3. I think the next group of 3 is Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Edmonton.
Okay.
And they've all kind of got their own positives and negatives. And I'm going to take Edmonton slightly ahead. But if any one of those 3 teams finishes 4th, I won't be surprised. And then I've got Ottawa charging on the outside rail, but still too young and inexperienced.
I think you nailed it. I'm not going to challenge your analysis of that. I think Montreal was exceptional, but I think you're right. Toronto is appear to be the best of the lot, but we'll find out. They've got to prove that. Here's a tough one for you. All right. From Neil. Do you think pro athletes should be near the front of the line to get the vaccines, as that would help encourage regular people to get the vaccine, or no? I mean, it's an interesting theory, isn't it?
Well,
be the role
because Neil's theory is, is that if high profile people, whether they be politicians or athletes, are at the front of the line, maybe more people are relaxed about getting the vaccine.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one because there's people far more in need of an effective vaccine than a pro athlete.
Right.
And or a politician. I'm going to say no, but what I am going to say is I would love the governments and even pro sports, if that's part of their influence, to promote both the pros and cons, the science of what's gone on, so people can make an informed decision instead of Fred from Facebook saying that this, that, and the other thing. We've spent so much time arguing in public whether this vaccine's a good thing or whether you should get it or shouldn't get it, or whether you want to get it or don't want to get it. How about spending the time promoting the information that is available now? Mm-hmm. The science of the information. Just keep putting it out there repetitively. I don't know about you, I've seen this travel commercial 57,000 times since the start of the pandemic. I know they must be paying, but how about if the federal government buys a spot and we see that 57,000 times? That's how people get the information that we need.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. We'll get to more Ask Ray and Dregs Anything in episode 2 of season 2 coming up on the Ray and Dregs podcast. Ray, we need to thank our partners who make the pod possible. That's Ligaro.com. Save 10% off all regularly priced items site-wide by using code RAY10. And coolbet.co. It's the free-to-play sports and casino games website, so you want to check that out. Huge thank you for listening, everybody. For rating our podcast, don't forget you can check us out on YouTube, and for sharing and following the podcast on all platforms available. Looking forward to next week. Ray, you are going to be locked down, so I think you're going to bring it. I think you're going to have lots of pent-up frustration, emotion, lots of stories to tell.
Well, I'm hoping for one of those weeks in Edmonton, Dregs, where it's really sunny. I don't care how cold it is because I'm going to be locked in my room, but at least there'll be like, I don't know, joy. Nah, it won't be joy. It'll be sunlight.
Yeah.
4 days, 96 hours locked in my room. You know who's going to hate me getting out of quarantine? Gord Miller.
Oh, Gord, we need to do this. Gord, let's go. Come on, we got to.
I'm going to be like that little dog that like bites at the big dog's heels. Hey, let's go for dinner, Gord. Hey, have you done the rosters yet, Gord? Come on. I'm going to be all over him.
That's tremendous. Well, until next week, thanks to Aaron, thanks to Rob, thanks to everybody who makes the podcast possible. Stay safe, everybody. And how about this? Wear a frickin' mask. How's that?
Yeah.